Today we're going to be taking a look at the original Legend of Zelda. That's right, the one that was released on the NES way back in 1987. But I'm going to do things a little bit differently because let's be honest, this game's been reviewed about 1 billion times over the years, and since it was just released, I think last week or the week before on the Wii U Virtual Console, I wanted to know what it would be like for someone who has never experienced this game before to actually try it out today, in today's market or what have you. So one thing that has aged perfectly over the years is the sort of sense of exploration it gives you. This was one of the very first action RPGs or adventure style games that was released. I know there was one on the Atari, but the thing was with that game you had to sort of imagine the forest, if you will. It was just like a bunch of green blocks. With this game, even if you're coming into it today and you've played modern games or whatever and you've never experienced this one, you don't need to imagine anything. A forest looks sort of like a forest. The mountains look like mountains. The river, a river. And so because of that, I don't know, it opens up some primal urge we have to explore. And you will want to explore every nook and cranny of Hyrule, and it's just awesome. The other thing that works perfectly well after all these years is the variety of weapons that you have. Every time you find a new weapon or you're in a dungeon and you beat your way to a new item or weapon or whatever, it sort of enhances that previous point I just made where you're like, ooh, I just got a raft, sweet, what will I be able to do with this now? And again, it just keeps pushing that whole exploration feeling just further and further, and the variety of weapons you get and items you get are just awesome. And that goes into the combat system, which I really like. So for example, your sword, you can shoot a sword beam ahead of you when you have full life, which is great if you want to basically stand back for ranged attacks, or you could use your boomerang, stun an enemy, go up for the kill with the sword, or you can place bombs, or you could use the candle, etc, etc, etc. Now this was revolutionary stuff some 20, 25 years ago, whatever, but even today it holds up remarkably well just because of all the different variety. I also think the mapping system, the dungeon mapping system rather, is perfect because you can see where doors lead to next, maybe where a secret or two might be if I bomb this area or that area. The Wii U version in particular is outstanding because of restore points and Miiverse integration, also having access to the internet or web browser, which you'll understand in just a second. But personally, I really like the Miiverse integration. I love being able to show people different things that they may not know, especially if they're new players, like how to get additional heart pieces right away before you even do the first dungeon. Now, things that haven't aged quite so well are the overworld map system. Yeah, it's great to be able to have one dot in a large black rectangle to sort of say oh, I remember there was a heart piece somewhere on the right, but it doesn't actually, go into any further detail, so it's kind of hard to see exactly what, well, not really see, but to plan how you're going to get back to a certain area. And the other thing is, Link can only move in 4 directions, yet he can throw his boomerang in all 8. I always thought that was weird. So anyways, because of that, while the combat system is great as a whole, the controls of Link feel a little cumbersome sometimes. They haven't aged quite as well as any of the other Zeldas that came after the original. You'll understand what I'm saying the minute you go up against a Dark Nut. Those are those knights or whatever. You'll see. It's so hard to strike and then move. It would be so much easier if you could move in 8 directions because you could just come at the guy diagonally, do a slash and move. It's just not as tight as the other Zelda games. And well, that's just the way it is. One of the biggest complaints though I know modern gamers would have is the fact that secrets aren't highlighted or otherwise hinted at. So for example, if you want to look for heart containers, for example, or like secret rupee stashes. In all the other Zelda games, there's clear indications of where these things might be. In other words, like you might see a rock face is a little bit discolored or something like that. In this one, there's no such thing. So you could literally spend years trying to find all the different secrets unless you used a guide or something like that. The translation is also pretty awful. It was awful back then, and when you play it all these years later, it remains awful. Like, they're supposed to offer you little hints of where you're supposed to look and stuff, and some of them, they make sense, but other ones just don't make any sense at all. And so the modern gamer might feel like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. And my biggest personal disappointment with this game after playing it just yesterday was the fact that I forgot that how crappy some of the boss battles are in the first Zelda game. It's so nuts. Like, you make your way all the way to the boss, and and it's so hard making your way to the boss, and then 2 hits and he's dead, or 1 bomb and he's dead. So yeah. Now that's pretty much all I got to say on that. You can hit up projectcoe.com for the full written review. But remember, I'm reviewing this from a perspective of today's gamer looking back at this series. Personally, this is one of my favorite video games of all time, and I think anyone and everyone should check it out because it's an absolute masterpiece. But I'm not blind to the fact that certain things haven't aged quite so well. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll be back soon with another video.